just about. Great to be segmented between Yo Space and Sky. Thank you for covering some of the ground, so hopefully I will be very close to 10 minutes, and I'm sorry if I keep you waiting, but we do that a lot to Sky anyway. Okay, 2017. You're an old baby boomer like me. I don't think we imagined what life was going to be like, to be honest with you, even 8 years ago. It really has been an amazing transition into a digital lifestyle for the majority of consumers, and also for most of those media touchpoints those consumers have. However, one of the biggest disappointments, certainly in my professional career, is that the media space has not moved out of its silos, and that is one of the biggest handicaps that the industry currently faces. And it appears on every agenda, in every client meeting. They cannot understand how our industry, in terms of monetizing their inventory, do not give them a united 360-degree proposition. So my first call to the industry is, please, can we get the measurement issues sorted once and for all? Because at the moment, it's a mess. In terms of us as an agency, we have a healthy global share. In 2016, though, interestingly enough, global digital was 1/3 of the marketplace in terms of total dollars. It obviously skews much higher in the US, UK, and Germany, France, etc. But in 2016 also, 72 cents of every new dollar coming into the industry was digital. I'm going to try it, but it wouldn't work. I'm going to have to get the glasses on. And 21 cents was TV. This year, our forecast is that'll change to 77.17. So digital will go up 5 points and TV down 4 points. How you define digital and how you define television, of course, can change those figures. Where does the catch-up go? Where does the SVOD, which obviously doesn't have any advertising dollars but has audience, but more importantly, where does the AVOD go? What is television? And in fact, one of the things you'll see up there is I've crossed out TV. We don't use the word TV anymore. We talk about video. We talk about AD, audiovisual. Television just doesn't exist in our minds. There is a linear. There is a time shift. There's a catch-up. There's a catalogue sale. There's live streaming. There's all different varieties of video. Sound and motion, wonderful content, premium content, and opportunities for brands to communicate with consumers. One change that is happening, though, is I think we're going to see more and more countries overtaking, as the IABs love to put it, TV spend. We have some markets where there's been great announcements in the trade press over the last few years. Digital now spends more than TV. Yeah, absolutely, of course. Our friends from Google with their search revenues, very important. But 5 more countries, we think, this year, France, Germany, Ireland, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, are all going to have higher digital spends than TV spends. So my message to the TV industry is watch where your budgets are going. It's all about your share of market. Most of digital's growth, though, is fueled by recruiting long-tail advertisers, something, in fact, which Sky have done admirably with AdSmart, bringing new advertisers, regional and local. But I won't say any more about that. I'll leave you to get on with that with your presentation. The other key change is in the hardware and software, in technology, where what was the information age is now becoming the intelligence age. I probably attend at minimum of 1 meeting a day or 1 telephone call a day about artificial intelligence. Whether that be IBM's Watson or talking to our partners at Google and other companies, AI is right at the top of those agendas in terms of consumer behaviours and ways of actually communicating brands. Augmented and virtual reality, 360-degree photographs. What's happening in terms of the YouTube-Facebook relationship with the overall industry in different jurisdictions, and I think there's a problem coming down the line in terms of the European Union. Whether UK is in or out is irrelevant. There is a big issue to do with audiovisual, to do with the general data protection regulation, and also with e-privacy laws. E-commerce is another massively changing and dynamic driver. The final thing I'd mention, though, would be marketplace integrity, and I'll come back to that shortly. It works. Our clients, the advertisers, look to us to help them in terms of their existing, proven, highly effective channels, a major one of which is what we might call traditional television, and lots of new opportunities where they can target, reach, and engage with consumers in a highly competitive marketplace to promote their brand and the purchase of their brand, increase the awareness, increase the preference. This isn't a revolution, it's an evolution. TV's not dead, and it's not going to be dead soon. Video is not dead, it's growing incredibly. Nor is the 30-second spot. Sadly, the 30-second spot in premium video is still the most common used in terms of replicating the television ads. Production costs are horrific. Clients continuously push back on that. All of this revolves around something I've been involved in certainly for the last 25 years. I don't target women 25 to 44. 25 years ago, I used to target TGI segments. I had to translate them into a buying currency that I was restricted to. We've spent an enormous amount of time in the research and agency worlds translating from broad buying currencies into target audiences. Hooray, hurrah, with big data. We now have an opportunity where we can use that data, whether it be first-party, third-party, or traditional syndicated surveys, to make sure we can enhance targeting and brands communication in television and video. And increasingly, we would be looking to the traditional television companies to enhance their targeting capabilities. And some have been doing and are continuing to do that, which I applaud. It means we can identify targets better. As the marketplace fragments, it makes life a hell of a lot more complicated. And the key thing is for the advertiser, it's the right message going to that audience. And finally, it's about measuring those KPIs and the return on investment the client gets. Major advertisers now are run by CEOs, COOs, and CFOs. It is about finance. It's about return on investment. The market has changed dramatically in the last 10 years. Quick run through some drivers. Technology changes, absolutely 100% top of that list. It's driving many of the commercial changes in our market. Transformation. Our industry is transforming and continues to do so. But there's also an awful lot of disruption. And over time, we'll find some of that disruption will disappear as matters consolidate. Enormous fragmentation in terms of media touchpoints for consumers. That has enormous implications in terms of managing campaigns and from the media owner side, as Tim was alluding to, in actually laying down those campaigns properly, multiplying by factors of 10 or even 100. Disintermediation, the likes of Adobe and Oracle coming up with marketing suites so clients can do it themselves. And finally, my soapbox topic, measurement. On top of that, there are some very well-established industry standards and currencies used for the majority of video spend, what used to be called television, in almost all countries in the world. It's not perfect. A lot of it is panel-based. We've been promised hybrid systems for quite some time. They're not emerging anywhere near as fast enough as we, and certainly advertisers wish. Agenda item number 2 for most advertisers is, yes, we want total measurement, and why haven't we got it? We're investing billions with these stations. Where is it? On top of that, I'm not going to go into it in any great detail, but market integrity, fraud, viewability, ad blocking. Massive issues added to recently by brand safety. Those, again, are top of advertiser agendas. They will only go amongst premium, reliable, quality content, where consumers are engaged, where there's brand safe, where they knew a human is going to look at it, and their ads are not going to be blocked. It's a whole separate 2-day conference to go through those topics. I'm not going to deal with them now. So moving through to how we work, we're talking about advertising. We're talking about TV advertising, video advertising. We've got to deliver our clients' commercial messages at the most effective costs and in the most effective way and in the most effective combinations. And hey, linear television and VOD is an incredibly effective way of advertising. Some studies by Millward Brown are showing something like 19-20% uplift through using them in combination. It's not an either-or, and it's not an us and them. It's looking at the right balance across all media channels, which of course is not just paid advertising. The pathway to purchase, what used to be called the purchase funnel, that's collapsed into a matrix. It's now a hell of a lot more complex and needs an enormous amount of data and understanding and insight into consumer behaviours to understand. Media mix has completely exploded in terms of where we can go and where our clients might put their money. And finally, in terms of creativity, there are enormous opportunities, and others far better qualified than I will talk about those, and I hope we're talking about them yesterday. There are enormous creative opportunities, but we do still seem to be hamstrung with the 30 seconds TV spot, which I find a little bit sad. But all of that feeds into sales, or it may be measured in terms of share of awareness, or share of intent, or share of preference, and about building brand equity. It's not just about selling, it's about keeping and maintaining and or building the equity for the brand. And one of the again, probably the third issue on most clients' agendas at the moment is, are they investing enough in brand equity? In 10 years' time, could they find that they're losing sales because they haven't been advertising now? And there's a lot of research needed to be done in that area. 3 quick ones. Programmatic TV, as we've heard, it's growing, but it's not at what we might call full scale. Dynamic ads and real-time buying, yeah, it's coming, it's all happening. It's happening in different countries at different speeds, and I look forward to lots of developments in that area. But there is also the TV infrastructure and regulations. Something Tim didn't mention is one of the issues that I often hear from TV companies. We have to comply with Ofcom, we have to make sure everything's right, and other regulations in other countries, and the European Union audiovisual laws may well actually add to some of those problems. So it is very, very complicated, and for the technology service platforms to get it right, it's difficult. It's not easy. In terms of addressability, I would defer to Sky, just to say it's growing, and it's not just growing in this country, it's growing in other countries, but more countries and more channels have got to provide that opportunity. Experiment, try, test and learn, and then present to the advertisers an opportunity. And they will actually support that and they'll invest with it. And it's household ad delivery primarily. I think once we shift into a more targeted individuals, I think that opens up a whole new realm of opportunities. And finally, the disruption. It's scary. Devices, platforms, commercial propositions are all changing. Unfortunately, though, as we fragment, reach goes down, and advertisers are paranoid about reach. Yes, there are some exceptions. Airbnb, Booking.com, a whole host of companies that have built enormous businesses and highly successful ones on digital advertising. But if you're an FMCG or CPG, for our American friends in the room, brand, it's about mass reach, simultaneous reach. And we've got to manage to put all this disruption and fragmentation together to provide the right campaign schedules for them to use. And then the main thing comes in terms of the battle for the ads, for the billions. And as I said, it's all about that simultaneous reach and high quality content. It's the biggest screen in terms of sound and motion that they can have, and it's peak consumer engagement. But all screens contribute, live and catch-up, live and video on demand, engaged or snacking. They're all part of a communication strategy. But we've got to measure, and I cannot stress it enough, we've got to measure total audiences, please. That is what the advertisers who are putting in those billions of dollars, pounds, euros require. And we've got to get a definition of viewing. Yes, we can add all the fancy stuff on later, but there's got to be a basic currency we work around. And we must have an automatic and standard brand and content and brand recognition. The hierarchies of categories, subcategories and brands. At the moment, we cannot track this stuff. It's impossible. So again, the industry's got to get its act together to do that, and I hope there are technology vendors who are going to help us, because the current ones are not delivering. And then finally, both advertising and subscription supported VOD is still growing, and it will continue to grow. There's no doubt about that. I think probably US and UK ahead of the curve compared to many. At the moment, and it's not a criticism, but Google's YouTube premium inventory is limited. We'd like to buy more of it. And our buyers tell Google sellers exactly that. And likewise with Facebook, there are some issues regarding viewing of their inventory. But we are persuading clients to invest, to test and learn, and to find the best balances and the ways to do it. And we're continually, and I have to say at the moment, in the last few months, I found the positivity coming out of both Google and Facebook encouraging. So into the future, nearly there, Andrew. Into the future, and this was a direct question that the brief asked me, if TV's too slow with data-driven precision advertising. Well, we're seeing that curve and all the screens proliferating, all the digital devices. It's pretty simple, guys. Smell the coffee. Hang on to your market share if you are dependent on advertising, because it's getting more and more competitive and more fragmented. And to conclude, I'd just like to say that TV video is not dead. And also, actually, millennials aren't really that different from the previous generation of 18 to 34-year-olds. I've got 35 and 33-year-old daughters. One is married and having her first child. So yeah, I'm going to become a grandfather, God help me. But they get jobs. They actually begin to have kids. They actually buy a big screen and put it on the wall. They might actually buy a box from a pay TV company, and they might not be watching through Apple TV all the time anymore. People do change, and they may actually stay at home instead of going out all the time. And we've seen an increase in those figures in the recent Barb TV viewing report here in the UK. Likewise, my colleague Lars Schwartz, who runs our trading and research in the US, probably responsible for about $10 billion. I think this week, or at the weekend in the New York Times, as a prelude to the upfronts, was quoted in an article that says, as viewers drift online, advertisers hold fast to broadcast TV. Well, there's three things happening. In the US, slightly different to Europe, TV ratings are collapsing, media equities, stocks are falling, and cord cutting in America is accelerating. Not necessarily true in Europe. And while audiences are drifting off to Netflix, Amazon Prime, Facebook, YouTube, there's one group of very, very stubborn people who are not ready to give up on broadcast television. They're called advertisers. And Lars quoted, and I will quote him, "It will continue to move forward and continue in this way as long as it works." And believe me, it works. We're in a transitional phase. A large degree, possibly, baby boomers like me are keeping television as we defined it afloat, maybe. And advertisers do know that, and they can see changes coming. And I think the sophistication that companies like Google, Facebook, and third-party data suppliers offer us, plus the increasing opportunity with first-party data, enables us to target advertising And that's a massive opportunity. And TV and video is scrambling to try and find ways to compete with that opportunity. And we would very much like to work with all those companies to do that in programmatic, addressability, dynamic ad insertion, and new creative opportunities, because that's what our job's about. We're not data scientists, we're advertising men. And I still love watching my Mad Men box set. So there's change coming. There's a lot of work to be done, and I'd like to thank you very much indeed for your attention.